A Burn Photo Part 1. When I was a little girl, I lived with my mom in a rented two-bedroom house in Cleveland, Ohio. The paint was chipping and there was stains on the shag carpet that had been there since the 70s. And the heat broke each year on cure in the middle of January. But then was a big backyard with a big tree to climb, and I thought their dump was a castle. My mom was a small woman, only about 5'1", slender and pale. Her eyes were large and deep-set, giving her a look of questioning exhaustion and world wellness. She had networks of tiny lines extending from the corner of each eye, patterned feet, which became more pronounced when she smiled. So often, when she was laughing, she looked like she was sad. She was a professional photographer, weddings and portraits mostly, graduations, cremations, family reunions, any sort of gathering. People pay to memorize. Picture definition, my childhood, photos and frames on the walls and popped on every flat surface, featuring cheap albums stacked in my mom's closet, selected in Slavon, eventually stored in boxes. Sometimes on rainy Saturdays or mornings when I was too sick to go to school, I'd sit cross-legged on the floor and look through a bunch of them, watching myself grow up one perfect memory at a time. One clear stick glass similarly day in May when I was 9, I was alone in my room, reading a babysitter's club book on my bed. My mom was in her bedroom, napping, after a long night photography photography. A couple of events, I glanced up out my window and noticed something of the ordinary. In the backyard, standing in front of the tree, was a girl about my age. She had oval skin and long, jet-black hair. She wore a lacy green flunked with polka dots. Her eyes caught mine and she smiled at me. She had a very big, long, pretty, pretty smile. I opened the door and called out to her, "Hey, where did you come from?" She skipped out the window and looked up at me. Our backyard sloped in such a way that she could have stood on tiptoe and grabbed hold of the ledge. "Hi," she chirped. Her voice was comforting. "I'm Kate. What's your name?" "Felicia," I told her. "Why are you in my backyard? She shrugged. I live down the street. I just moved in. Do you want to play with me? I frowned. My mom had always said she met my friends and the parents before I invite them into our house. This was a rule she put when I was in preschool, and one which she was unwilling. Hold on, I told Kate. Let me ask my mom. Kate's face fell. Did you have do you have to? Can't you let me in first? I'm really tired and I have to go to the bathroom. I'll let uh, I'll just let a minute. Take a minute. I just scrambled away. No, wait, Kate called after me. I went into my mom's room and shook her awake. She rolled out into her back and looked up with bloodshot, tired eyes. She smiled groggily. Sweetie, are you okay? Mom, I said, there's a girl outside. She says her name's Kate. Can I come in to play? Mom sat up, her red eyes wide, and she looked she gave me was one of the abject terror, curious terror. I felt my heart beat quicken and my palms moist. Where? She started. Where did she come from? Is she at the front door? She's in the backyard, I told her. She just appeared. Mom threw herself onto her feet and ran out the bedroom towards the back door. I followed close behind her. She kicked open the door and ran the yard. Kate was gone. I wondered where she had gotten to so fast. I had only been in my mom's room for a couple of minutes. Mom apparently didn't care. Stay away from her, she screamed, dancing from air to air. Stay away from my child. I started frozen in place. I'd heard my mom curse before. She turned black to me by eyes, wild, smell, body having. Felicia, she painted, get your stuff. We're going to a hotel. We stayed in the hotel for 2 days, during which my mom agreed for a U-Haul truck and still rented a house in Aspen, Colorado. But the moment of her day, all of my belongings were packed up and we were heading east on the interstate. I skipped school and every time Mom allowed her eyes to rest anywhere but on me for the next few seconds, her head would snap back up in my direction. She faced a mask of horror. It wasn't until we were on the road that she started to relax. Aspen was nice. I liked my new school, and Mom was hired as a staff photographer for upscale banquet hall. I asked her a million times why we had to move, not even move, flee. into the dead of night, and I think she gave me a million different answers. She was sick of Cleveland. Aspen had a lower crime rate, while Studier had lots of nice hotels hosting fancy weddings. Never once did she mention Kate or outburst in the backyard. One windy, ice-cold day in early December when I was 14, I waked home after school. My mom was out photographing a person at a nearby hotel. I unlocking unlocking the front door when I noticed a girl about my age sitting in the other end of the porch, her back to the house. Opening my keys jingling, she stood and turned to me. She was very pretty, thin, pale, with freckles and red hair. She wore a black V-neck shirt and skinny jeans. She smiled. Her smile was lovely. The seemed like there to happening to be all day. I grinned back at her, feeling kicking from my front reflex. Something threw me off. I couldn't say what. Huh? Hmm? I said. How can I say? Can I help you? The girl nodded. I'm Zoe, she said. I'm sorry to impose on you, but can I possibly come in? I have a few houses down, and I forgot my keys. Can I use your phone? I guess, I said warmly. My mom still had her rule about allowing people inside the house she didn't meet, but had been to see a little ridiculous. This chick looked harmless, except she was wearing a short-sleeved shirt and no jacket in below freezing weather. Suddenly I remembered Kate and the terror that little girl inspired in my mother. Then I noticed how much this girl resembled her. Same big smile and innocent eyes staring at me exactly. I turned and ran. I holed up a friend's place a few blocks away and got a ride from her older brother to the hotel where my mom was taking pictures. 3 days later, we were out of the lease packed up and on the road. They painted California this time. We had gotten home that day, the day I found Zoe sitting on the porch. I was ahead of my mom while she gathered her equipment. I turned on a light. There was something different on the coffee table. Then something else when touched. I walked to the indicator and found a photograph of a little black boy. An old photograph by the looks of it. The boy in the photo was 2 or 3, maybe giggling while leaning over the edge of what appeared to be a bathtub filled with bubbles. The edge of the photo were charred. I didn't notice my mom coming up behind me as she saw the picture. She screamed. Startled, I dropped her. As soon as the photo hit the ground, it disintegrated in dust. We stayed at a hotel after that. The night before, planned to leave for California. Mom and I sat on the couch in our hotel room watching sitcom reruns. Our U-Haul truck was packed in the lot. When the channel went to commercials, Mom muted the TV. We sat in silence for a moment. She hadn't given an explanation for our move this time, and I didn't need one. I knew it had to do with Zoe or Kate, or whatever was causing these girls to constantly ask me out and ask to be invited in the house, and the photo of the little boy. Felicia, she finally said to me, I don't want to tell you why we keep moving like this. God, I spent the last 14 years trying to protect you from it. Trying to pretend it's gone, but it just keeps on finding you and me, no matter how far we run. This was a reason she told me that I didn't have a father, or a grandmother, or a grandfather, aunts, or uncles, or cousins. Why all of the accusations her few friends had only known us since I was 6 months old and we'd moved to Cleveland. Why we lived so far from our hometown of Miami. The only piece of information she'd ever shared about our past and how we'd never gone back. It was all because the little boy in the picture, Shane, my brother, and another little boy he once played with. Before I was born, my mom lived with my father and Shane in a house just outside of Miami. My mom's name was Bonnie then, Bonnie Libez. She loved taking pictures, but it was just a hobby. Professionally, she was a nurse at a hospital. My father's name was James Ribez. He was Dominican, currently hearted and black skin, like me. He worked as a commercial pilot. Due to the nature of his job, was away from home for days at a time. So most of the time it was just me, Mom, and Shane. Shane was the love of her life. Mom's eyes lit up as she described him to me. He was very smart, she said, always learning, always taking apart apologies and trying to put them back together, exploring, finding his into the laundry room, unlatched the trap door that led to the basement, climb down and get lost and screamed when the door slammed shut. He couldn't find the light switch. He loved animals and G.I. Joe, and books about taking animals, or fantasy creatures and wizards. But just us with nice switches. He didn't like scary stories. Though Shane was a sweet child, he was shy and had difficulty making friends within kindergarten classmates. My mom did all she could do to recruit him a playmate. She organized a carpool with other mothers, arranged play dates, enrolled Shane in karate class, but despite her efforts, as summer became fall, the end of the first semester approached, and kindergarten play groups became arrived. Her son was still spending recess playing alone on the swings, weekends in his room, with only his toys to keep him company. My mom was frustrated. One Saturday in mid-November, after dozing off on the couch while watching some gossip show. She was awoken by the sound of an immense peal of laughter. She immediately went to check on Shane in his room, where he had been playing with his Legos. Shane was still there, sitting cross-legged on the floor. Next to him was a small boy with milky pale skin, blue eyes, and ice blonde hair, dressed in overalls and a red t-shirt. Mom nearly screamed. "Oh!" she managed to stammer. "How the heck did you get in?" Then she realized she was looking at her son and that he was intricately happy with a kid his own age. She smiled. "Shane, why don't you introduce me to your new friend?" "Hi, his name is Earlty," Shane replied gracefully. "Well, hi, Earlty," Mom said, with the enthusiasm of a lost sailor has for land. "Do you live around here?" Earlty nodded. "Yes, ma'am." "Well, aren't you polite?" she gushed. "You're welcome to come over any time you want. But sweetie, do you parents know you're here? I'm sure they don't want you wandering the streets by yourself." "It's okay," he told her. His voice was angrily sweet. "I told my mom I was going to play with the kid down the street. She said it's okay." Aunt Auntie smiled at her. My mom said it was the widest smile she's ever seen on a little boy. A first day of summer smile, a Christmas morning smile, new puppy smile, poor kid. She must, his parents must not be the most attractive adults on the planet if they recklessly allowed their elementary school-age kid to run off to the house of a neighbor they never met. And such a sweet little boy. Maybe he, like her son, was lonely and desperate in need of a friend. So she left them alone for the rest of the afternoon. While dinner came around, she told Ella he was welcome to stay, but indeed he needed to be going home. Last, his mom would be worried. The minute the front door slammed shut after him, Shane ran to our mom and asked her if please, Andrew could come over again tomorrow. Mom was very happy. "So, sweetie," she asked Shane over dinner, "how did you even meet with her?" "I think I would have heard him come in the front door, the way the floorboards squeaked in the living room." She shook his head. "He was in the backyard. He climbed through my window." "Oh," Mom replied, "that's different. Does he go to your school?" No, Shane said. "He always has his mom teaches him at home." Homeschooled? So Audrey was definitely lonely and desperate for playmates. And since he was surrounded by other children all day, she said no competition for his friendship. Mom was ashamed of the thought, but also awake or shy. Awakened, awkward son could use all the handicaps he could get. Audrey did come over the next day. 3 more days that week after Shane came over from school. The boy got along beautifully. Audrey seemed fascinated by Shane's toy, his die-cast car collection, numerous stuffed puppets, G.I. Joe and Transformer action figures, Legos. My mom assumed he didn't have a lot of toys at home since he never brought any of his own, and seemed fascinated by the exchange of such playthings. Maybe his parents didn't have a lot of money. That makes sense since every time she saw him wearing the same overalls and red t-shirt, like a cartoon character. His favorite toy was the same as Mom's, the beautiful set of blocks her late father had made for Shane. It was a set of 40 letters. Numbers were bought blank ones in a box with handles. The letters and numbers were effectively cut in Old English font on two sides of each block, the other four faces decorated with different objects that stated with the letter or the groups of a single butterfly, a bunch of bananas, and a cookie of buttercups for B. Groom set, salt, paper sack for the number 2, and so on. Each was detailed with muted yellow, blue, or green. The toy was usually unique, irreplaceable. Sean, too young to appreciate it for fine craftsmanship and the hours of labor that took for making it. Honest for a year, Audrey was trickle pink. He assumed himself and chained for hours, spelling out different words and giggling. One day, Mom was off working in a creative mood. The boys were in Shane's room building word towers with blocks, and looked pretty quietly when her giggling. Day after day, week after week, the boys spent more time together. Audrey met my father once or twice for a few minutes as he rushed out the door to the airport or stumbled into his room to sleep off the rest of jet lag. He, he met my maternal grandmother, who stayed with Shane while both my parents were at work, and claimed her with his sweet voice and plans to teach him how to knit. He began trying over dinner a few more times a week, through the nerve to eat a whole lot. Soon Audrey was on the porch every day, waiting for Shane to get home from school, always wearing the same red shirt and overalls, always pale, no matter how much time the boy spent out in the sun, always athletic. And the boys grew closer. My mom became instantly curious about Audrey's family, who apparently were invisible. She's spoken about Audrey to several of her young mothers on the crew set, gossiping women who made it their duty to know everything about everyone. Yet none of them had never seen or heard of the little boy, let alone his mystery parents. Mom had been fully expecting sooner or later a pale-skinned, blue-eyed, ice-blonde woman to come knocking at the front door, smiling, shivering she asked the whereabouts of her little boy. Maybe she'd be wearing a dim jumper as a red top, but no such woman ever came. Audrey, do you want me to drive you home tonight? Mom asked him sweetly one day as he and Sean were organizing toy cars in the living room. He smiled at her and shook his head. So, okay, ma'am. Are you sure, honey? I'd like to meet your mommy. Let her know her son's not spending his time with a bunch of crazy people, she giggled. Ryan's blue eyes flashed. His smile deepened, dropped. You can't, ma'am. He shook his head ugly. My mommy's sick. She doesn't like seeing people. With that, he turned his attention back to Shane and the cars, and reported to rush further inquired about his mother, or offers a ride home with the same Ishak shaking his head. My mom dropped the subject. Then, day by day, one small adjustment at a time, Shane began to change. First, he stopped letting Mom touch him. When she extended his hand for his to close the school parking lot, he let her take it only virtuously, and with a parted neck virtually looking on his face. He softened the board when she put arms around him. The jingle of her keys with the once same share let Jane look a lonely puppy, now only an desperate look towards the direction from whatever unseen point in space was he staring at. Then he stopped eating. He and Ellie sat side by side at the dinner table, staring th- their food around their plates, lifting their forks without taking a bite, throwing dull-eyed glances at another with thought Mom wasn't looking. Sure she had, Shane had been throwing away his stick lunches at school. Whenever she offered him food, he immediately replied, I'm just not hungry, Mom. Finally, he stopped talking after dinner. He retreated to his bedroom to do his homework, where he had stayed until Mom knocked on the door and told him to take a bath. When he finished bathing, putting on his pajamas, he shut his door, turned off the lights, and closed his eyes. No story, no kissing goodnight. He only spoke when responding to direct questions, and with as few words as possible. When he didn't wake up for school in the morning, he lied in bed until early afternoon, until Audrey came over to play, and then Audrey and Shane usually had changed as well. The boys no longer played in the yard or chased each other around the house. Instead, they retreat to Shane's room immediately, and they then all afternoon were the doors closed. When my mom went in to check in, she found them sitting peacefully on the bed. Sometimes, if she listened through the door, she heard things being moved around and clicking together, possibly change cars. Whatever it was, they were doing in there, and did it nearly when Artie would finally leave for the night. The room was always exactly in the same condition as it was before Shane came home from school. My dad assured Mom that Sean was just going through a phase, and if that's being she chose to believe that because she had to do. My grandmother was ill. She became quite ill with diabetes for years. That one of their blew her kidneys had failed. One sister moved home to live with her, taking her to dialysis, but my mom was left to deal with her bills and legal documents and health insurance. One day soon that she was different. Sean closed the door. She heard muted giggles. She pressed her ear the wood. Mumble, mumble. Maybe she be really mad. Giggle, giggle. The mumble was definitely Sean's voice, but my mom couldn't make out exactly what he was saying. And as he spoke, mumble. Not that gone forever, but mumble no one would ever see. Giggle, giggle. She laughed, leaned on the door. The front would squeak. The voices behind her felt silent. Quickly, the child caught sneaking a cookie before dinner. She scrambled back to the kitchen table and made herself look busy. Sean's door then opened. She was in the clear, but something about that she was heard under her hair. A small part of the useless was due to the odd sitting conversation. It was also strange that she couldn't understand what they were saying, deeply running away, but mostly she bothered by the fact that there were one or two voices. That night she waited until Artie was out the door, then tried to have a conversation with her son. She caught him in the hallway between the kitchen and the bedroom. "Son, sweetie," he began gently, "what do you and Artie talk about?" He turned in and shrugged. "Stuff. I know that," she said, a little more demanding. "What kind of stuff?" "Places he liked to go to." "Oh," Mom smiled. "Like Chuck E. Cheese's or McDonald's?" Sam shook his head. "No, special places. There are other kids there. He going to take me there soon." "Oh, okay." Mom had no idea to respond, saying, talking about his room and closet door, then something strange about the way he had said that. "He's going to take me there soon. Not can we go there?" As though they had no choice in the matter, and Red Eye Redface door and decided to follow him home. She waited until he was a few car lengths ahead of her and graded towards where the street dead end. Then she stripped on the gas and was headlight after driving very slowly. Frustrated on the little boy, blond hair, head bobbed up and down. He made it to the dead end. Mom braked. He had kept walking around the circle sidewalk until he was heading west. That was strange, she thought. Why hadn't he just crossed the street and the front of their house? Then he stopped. He turned around and saw my mom's car. He looked her in the eye. Started. She stripped off the brake pedal and let her car roll forward. On his acrylic face, she said, was the most hated feeling expression she ever seen in a living thing. He turned away and made it a beautiful to the house right in front of him, a small white one with an unkept lawn, empty driveway. The door was embroidered in a dark enclave. My mom couldn't see in front of the car, and early walked into the alcove and swallowed by the darkness. My mom assumed he entered the house, but no lights went or turned on. She cried after the little boy, wherever he living situation was. This was unseen mother obviously wasn't ideal for a small child. It was well after dark, and he was coming home to empty the unbuilt house. But there was something about the hug he gave her, the specific ugly glare. She felt nauseous thinking about it, so she made a U-turn and drove to work. It wasn't until she was in the hospital parking lot that she noticed the goosebumps on her arms, the whiteness of her umbilical of gripped the steering wheel. After an hour her shift, Mom got the call from her sister. The skin around my mom's gator had been reddish and tender for a couple of days. She thought it was just a rash, but the right my aunt had found my grandma's unbruised on the floor. She'd been rushed to another hospital in town, but by the time the ambulance pulled her into the ER, Grandma flatlined, crippled, shocked. It was only inconvenience my mom decided that her mom seemed to have collapsed at the same moment. Ashley fixed her with distant glare. Part 2 will be posted tomorrow.